I'm hoping. Ooh.
I haven't hit that.
He's meaning business
Yep,
today.
meeting business today. We got a big agenda. Better get her done.
All right.
I call everybody to order. Welcome all the visitors and Kim. Nice to see you.
Our one person.
Yep. Alrighty. I'll call the meeting to order. Any declaration of peculiar interest? None? Here we got lots of minutes. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. The previous minutes of the January 15th, 2019 and February 19th, 2019 budget meeting and the March 19th, 2019 council meeting be approved. Yes?
So are the budget minutes, they're showing up now because today's the day we're going to pass the budget? Is that the thinking? Okay. Makes sense.
Any questions? All in favor? Additional items. I have one. You?
I do as well.
Write it down.
Two for Mark.
Two for Mark? Oh.
Two. Having my scissors in it.
I'm gonna mark it down on the. Oh, it's okay. So who? Dave, you want? Mark, did you have one?
Yes, please.
I have actually. Yeah, if anybody thinks of something on the way through, let me know. Okay.
Yeah, George took it.
Ron has.
Well, the donor. That's your taking care of that.
Yeah, we're taking care of that, and then we're gonna do kind of a thing together. Okay. Sorry, together. Yeah. Resolutions.
Thank you for taking your time.
Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Dirksen, that the Town of Minto Council convenes the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Now the public meeting is at 5 o'clock, so moving that, we have to come back to that. Delegation. So, have I got notes on this? I think so.
A lot of it in the CTEC now.
Okay. In my, hang on, Mark. Got a PFD.
Anywhere. Right here.
That's the right way. Thank you. Okay. If we get Mark to come up to the front, this is always fun to do. And Judy, would you like to come down with me on this? Sure. Your department?
Read it again, what it was. It's a CTEC.
Andrew.
Yes.
Mark, Andrew. We always get to see everybody's full names. That's what I like about this.
And what about Christ Harold?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got another promotion.
I guess I'm representing the barber chaparral. He's the registered director of the ITTO, and we're very pleased that Mark has successfully completed all the requirements for certification of the OACETT as a certified technician entitled under the OACTT to use title CTEC. You have that in your cards now, right? Yep. Excellent. And I'm sure we wish recognition of achievement of professional status. And this is what it's all about. It's professional status, and it takes a long time for people to work through these things and get through on their own time. And we really appreciate the effort as far as our accountable goals. Basically, there's your certificate. We're 25,000 members in the group. You're one of the highest certificate. And you know, we go back to the time when we started this project, how many years ago? We started in 2012. Did you want to say a few words? Journey? Okay. but when we, and a lot of people, maybe some of the councilors that weren't here don't understand that we started this process and we want to take over our own operations. That positions and that we can do it himself to bring down the center lawn. And then work his way into here, and now he's our head man. And really appreciate all that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Me.
Public question.
Yeah, you know, spit it.
Correspondence. We have James Way, Maitland Valley, Maitland Seniors Cliff Rec. Anybody want to pull anything? You were in a seconder for that. Councilor Elliott, Kevin Turton, all in favor? Sports committees. Parks and Rec. Who's doing that? Mark? Oh. Ah.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So these are the minutes from our meeting on Monday, March the 4th, at Harrison Arena. Just quickly with the Norgan, we had a great 2018, resulted in $31,000 surplus, and when added to reserves, makes that balance $63,000 as of December 31st. And attendance in 2019 almost mirrors that of 2018 to date, so we're off to a strong start again this year. Regarding March break, we ran our day camp program, the Palmerston Arena and Harrison Arena. The numbers were strong, and the PA Day program registration for this Friday is 43, which is up from the 13 we had at our inaugural one on September 30th. So we're looking good there. And intake for summer day camp, people can start requesting dates for care, and that started on Monday. I think we're going to be really busy this summer. The Smoke-Free Ontario Act is coming up a little later in the agenda. The Drew Board insurance request was received, and a motion was made to approve that. So something we've done for the last number of years for them, and the good work they do out there. And then just quickly on the half ice, we're reviewing options with half ice boards versus barriers for the upcoming ice seasons. That's an ever-changing thing that we'll just keep our eye on. The half ice seems to be going well, and it might even expand into novice this upcoming season. So boards versus barriers might be something we have to talk about sooner rather than later. Any questions?
Just a well,
Yeah, no,
yep, go ahead. No, you go ahead first.
Okay, that just while you're talking those rink boards, is it our responsibility to supply half ice for groups that supply a sports venue for them, whatever the purpose they use it? And I know I've been through that too.
Yeah.
Do we have to buy those for the groups, or do they fundraise and buy their own dividers?
Through Mayor Bridge, what we did with the barriers the first time around was we basically partnered with minor hockey on it, because it is a fairly major expense depending on what option you go with. And what we were able to do was we actually found a couple of sponsors in the community to help offset that cost. The Blessings to You Center made a donation. Pike Lake Golf Center made a donation. So depending on the cost of any future projects, we may want to team up again to try and find some local sponsors to help offset that. So I'm thinking it's going to be a partnership kind of thing again.
Yeah, and I think we've been, Councilor McKenzie, we've been pretty successful in the past reaching out to some of our corporate sponsors on these things. But I think it's up to us maybe to come up with through PRAC the proper ones that we're going to use and up with what the costing is going to be. But I'm hopeful that you'll get some good people coming forward again like you did.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It was great to see Pike Lake step up and make a donation. With Blessings to You, they've been great to work with on a number of fronts, including the after-school program and helping us get a start there. So, yeah.
My only comment was, and I asked to maybe have a report on the summer program and that in May, or one of our May meetings, have a staff report, because I'm really excited for what's happening in the after school program, and by that time we'll know how we're doing with Middle Clifford as well. and going forward in the new year, plus the PD days and the fact that Jess has been organizing the summer camps. And so I kind of thought we maybe should have just a little bit of a report back from staff in May, and if that's all right with council, and just kind of bring us up to date where we were with all these things. And I think it's a good news story, and I think people have to hear about it, and the more people hear about it, the more people are going to sign up. I'm thinking.
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
So if they can bring a report back, that'd be great.
Yep.
I don't know if that has to go through PRAC or not, or just.
Yeah, we could always do the trial run there and then
Yeah.
see how it goes. And
Yeah, whatever.
bring it here
Doesn't
afterwards.
work, blame it on
Blame
pride.
it on PRAC. But anyways, I just be nice to maybe bring that up.
For sure.
Okay, somebody want to move? Ron? Dave? No.
Ron?
All in favor? I'm good. I'm coming. That's one more mistake and I'm done. Culture Roundtable.
So
Welcome.
This was our, did you say uh-oh?
No, welcome.
I'm like,
No, I
You're okay.
I know I missed the meeting, but
So this is our first meeting of the year. We are having snowstorms every time we're supposed to have a cultural roundtable meeting. And this meeting was the first meeting for a lot of people, but a lot of people were also absent. So we reviewed our cultural plan, which began back in 2008. So we've had our cultural plan for a long time, and some of you might recall that we were the first small community to do a cultural plan, which is something that we're quite proud of. And we have accomplished a lot in our plan, and many things have been checked off. So the purpose of this meeting is really trying to create some new ideas that's still aligned under the 4 strategies of the plan. You'll see quite a list there. The following meeting, 2 weeks after this, we did go through and did some democracy voting and allocating some budget dollars to these different things. But this meeting is really just about reviewing and coming up with new ideas. And then in the next report, the next council will get into the more nitty-gritty details of what was actually decided and who's doing what. But that's all I want to highlight in these minutes. Some questions.
Questions?
I had a couple of questions at the bottom of page 3. Second last paragraph kind of tails off. I'm not sure what you were going to tell us there, but you didn't finish telling us something.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was also wondering about the dance academy, the recital. Is it really the Saturday, Sunday?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yep, normally it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but because the senior dancers it's prom on the Friday night.
Oh.
The graduating dancers would not be there. And
Right.
Gotcha.
So it will just be 2 shows Saturday, 1 show Sunday.
Okay, I was thinking it's usually during the week, but I guess that's the demo is usually during the week, and then
Correct.
this is the
This is the
recital.
big
This is the big one.
recital.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Good.
as for what John Cox was saying,
Was John talking?
good question. John Mock is the president, and he probably was mentioning that the mayor's breakfasts are coming up. We have April, 2 mayor's breakfasts. One is next Friday, April 12th, at the in Clifford at Grandma Joe's. April 26th is at the Anglican Church in Palmerston for the Palmerston people, and then Hairston's is May 3rd at Harrystone's, all at 7:30. And then they also have their Chamber of Commerce Business Achievement Awards happening on April 12th.
Right. Lots of stuff coming up.
So yeah, it is a very busy spring for the chamber. So those would be probably the things to do.
Questions? We were in a second here. Burton? Johnson? All in favor? Good. Fees for Minto. Are you doing that one?
Sure.
Good afternoon, Council. So there was 2 sets of minutes for the trees for Minto, November 8th and for March 26th. At our last meeting, we did decide on doing some spring offerings for trees for the residents of Minto. We haven't got the actual trees set yet. I'm in talks with Rod Johnson right now. And our theme is birds, bees, and butterflies. So we are looking at some smaller offerings, such as bushes, that even the urban area may be able to use and do. And that's about all I wanted to highlight.
I disappointed. There's 9,000 trees planted. I thought that was
You didn't think there was enough trees?
no, that's great. No, that's a lot
Pretty
of
amazing, really.
amazing what the group's doing, and still would love to get somebody to do a living snow fence. We're still working for.
We are still working on
on
the
a
living snow
volunteer.
fence. Rob Johnson was going to bring us GIS mapping of
Yeah.
the areas that are looking for it. He wasn't able to get it for last meeting, but it will come forward at our next meeting.
Nice to get one of those up and going. Some of the people I know that have said in the past, they just don't. They're on the spot where it works.
And
You know, you have to be in a
right.
proper
and it's
area.
county roads where you're offered the
Yeah.
funding to do it.
Tiny roads, and it has to be the
At a
right wind
specific
direction
spot.
and everything else.
Yeah.
So we just haven't been able to find one yet that we can do. But
We'll keep working on that.
the committee's done a pretty good job of, and I'm excited about the fact that we're bringing the urban people in as far as doing elderberries and other things that you might be able to use in your backyards and
That's right. If you don't want
shrubs
to eat
this
the
year.
elderberries, I mean, the birds will gladly eat them for you. So.
Yeah,
My
they'll look after you.
2 fruit trees made it through the winter, although I should have bagged them earlier. The deer and the rabbits were
Having a little
enjoying
fun
them,
with
but we got them bagged up. I think they're going to live, so hopefully that's good. Anyways, but that's great. Have somebody moving? Judy? Jeff, all in favor? Okay. Staff reports. Recreation. Yeah, Ron. Yeah, it's up. You're up, Ron, on these recreation ones.
I'm up.
Yep.
I'd like to introduce our recreation manager, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. So this will be hopefully the last set of agreements that I bring before you. I think every council meeting that I've been at this year, I've had an agreement of some form. This is for the Minto Dance Academy and the Great Wellington Theatre Guild. So similar to some of the others, we've got a 2% annual increase built into this, or whatever the October CPI is. And this was just through the usage at the Old Town Hall. Dance Academy uses the lower part, and the Theatre Guild uses the theater part. And so this would be, again, I think, like a 5-year term. It's just good to see that space being utilized and having programs offered to those young and old. Any questions regarding the agreement?
So the recommendation would be the council receives the March 21st, 2019 report from the Recreation Service Manager entitled Agreements, and the council consider bylaws authorizing the mayor and acting clerk to sign these agreements. Mayor George and Deputy Mayor Dave. All in favor? Thank you. And next, smoke free. This is interesting.
Yeah, this is certainly an interesting report. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. So, just as it states in the report, our policy dates back to 2015 when a 20-meter barrier rule was put in place with regards to outdoor sporting areas and playgrounds. And there was a requirement for us at that time to put a town policy into place about how we would effectively enforce that. It's the first line of defense. With the new regulations or new rules that came in the fall of last year, the 20-meter barrier remains in place, and different rules regarding community recreational facilities have been put in place. And so essentially for those, there's a 20-meter barrier from the grounds of the facility. So essentially for a community recreational facility like an arena, that also would encompass a parking lot. So it's 20 meters from the perimeter of the parking lot. It also was changed to incorporate cannabis and e-cigarettes, vaping. So those types of usages are not permitted, and that's now included in the Act. That wasn't something that we would have seen in there 4 years ago. And that includes for medicinal purposes. It's important to note that like asthmatic inhalers or sports puffers are okay, but not vaping devices or anything containing cannabis. So I think the key here is just good signage and awareness and courteous self-policing. We're hopeful that that will result in minimal infractions and complaints directed towards staff.
I think one of the problems going to be is the enforcement, and I don't think we're going to attempt to really variant, and we're going to ask people to move if they're in the wrong positions. But there is rules for us to be able to enforce it, and they are suggesting that we're supposed to be strong on enforcing it if we see it. Yes.
Well, I think the health unit recognizes that we're like the first line of defense to help with enforcement. So if we see an infraction or a complaint is directed towards us, we'll certainly try and put a stop to that. But we're not going to get confrontational. If that person becomes confrontational, then we're going to involve the police as safety of our staff is important.
For example, how that rule would be enforced quite often. Well, Palmerston would be a perfect example. The arena is surrounded by ball fields and soccer fields. So probably the furthest anybody would go for a smoke if they're at a dance or a buck and doe would be out to the road. So I don't know. I mean, usually they just stand outside the door and have their cigarette or whatever. So I'm not sure how that's going to be enforced, or even slow pitch players playing their game. I think that's going to be some of the difficulties we're going to have enforcing this.
Yeah, I think anytime something new gets introduced, and just the education piece, and some people are a little more willing than others to take advice or a suggestion to just to stop what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, smoking outside the front doors, that's going to be a thing of the past, and we're just hoping that we can,
ask them to move, and hopefully
the hope is that people will be courteous and respectful.
Is there any other questions? Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman Ron. I'm back in 2015. We had discussions about this, how we were going to police it, and I mean, we haven't had that many issues when this first came in, and I agree. People police people, and in this particular case, I'm hoping that with the signage, and people are doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, they'll be told. Because I think that happened back a few years ago, and again, I haven't heard a lot about the police getting involved on those issues. So hopefully we get it signed and go forward. We'll have no issues.
George?
Yeah, and nothing much changed other than the fact that we've added vaping and the cannabis thing, and so we've had some experience, and I think Deputy Mayor Turton's talking about the fact that our citizens are the ones that are going to be our biggest police force. And let's face it, that's who we are. The council can say whatever we want, we can have our staff say whatever we want, but at the end of the day, we're all responsible as citizens for what the laws of the land are, and we don't. It's a democracy, so citizens will be the ones that I think will probably police this, and we have seen that in the past. And we're going to get those rare occasions, as you said, that somebody might not listen, and those ones will have to be dealt with, and we'll keep an eye on it. From the public health side they can tell you right now they've got one inspector for Wellington County, maybe 1.5. You're not going to see much enforcement out of them. They don't have the funding for it. So at the end of the day, we'll see how it goes, and keep an eye on it. And I would hope that through PRAC and through you'll let us know if there is concerns. But I think if we just let our citizens know that they're a big police force out there, they're part of the solution, obviously. So
we can certainly through PRAC.
And I like the signs are good. I like the signs, and we got them free from the health department. That's one thing. So we'll get them up and go from there.
I have to agree with Ron. There's going to be issues here. People are accustomed to standing outside of arenas and smoking, and they pay no attention to the signage. They pay no attention to the location of the ashtrays. I've watched people light up a cigarette right parked by the sign, watching their kids play soccer where it says no smoking. And I have big concerns about this. Smoking is a dreadful thing. Smoking marijuana has its purpose in life, but it doesn't need to be by arenas where kids are playing. So I'm hoping we're going to be somewhat vigilant about this, at least until we get the news out, whether we do an article in the paper and say, look, folks, the game has changed. We will be policing this. Because they're accustomed to smoking anyway. So we all know that. You go to any dance or function, there's a group of people, you got to get through them to get to the parking lot. Sorry, we can pretend we're covering it. We're not. And it is the law. And if we don't uphold it, then what's the point of having the law?
Certainly. I mean, I don't feel young or old, but certainly like with smoking in public places, it's changed quite a bit from far back as
It
I can
has,
remember.
yep.
Let's give it a shot.
This is just the next step.
Councillor McKenzie.
Just a question about our county police. This is a bylaw. So do they enforce a smoking bylaw?
Unless somebody causes a problem, like physically, they won't.
So the whole bench could be smoking and they'll walk by and not.
Well, if there's a complaint and our staff go to the person and say stop it, and if there's obviously they don't, and there's back and forth, then they have to call the police in. The police will do it in a case like that. But have we seen many of those situations? I haven't heard.
Well, we turn a blind eye to a lot of it.
Nobody-
But I think it's asking a lot of our upper tiers to make our staff monitor, or to monitor this for them. I agree. There's going to be issues over this, and hopefully they can stay out of trouble. Our staff, I mean.
Mhm.
Well, and that's important. We're not like I'm not giving all our staff blocks and having them. It's not their. And you've been in that situation, Mark. I'm sure where you've had to go up to somebody and say, we got a problem here, and if they turn and they just disregard you totally and whatever and start mouthing off, I think their staff have the ability to call the police at that point in time, and I think that would wish they would. And at that point, the police have to deal with it, but they won't just come up and say, you can't call them and say we've got people out there that are smoking. They won't without us doing it.
Judy? Yes.
I was just going to say, this isn't just a Minto thing.
Mm-mm.
This is like across
Everywhere.
Ontario. So I think there'll be some more education and awareness that we don't have to pay for directly, because of course we pay for it. But so I'm hopeful that this challenge that we have before us is not just unique to us. It's going to be across Ontario at every arena and every dance hall and so on and so forth. So I think it'll be interesting to watch how it unfolds. But I agree, we don't want to put our staff in danger, but at the same time, we want to make sure that people know that what they're doing is not correct.
Chair Ron, just one thing. When we're talking with the people that we think are going to be the problem areas, like possibly, I heard somebody say slow pitch. Should we hand out one of our documents with our new policies to the chair of the slow pitch so he can bring it up at their meeting?
We can, Councillor Elliott, we can certainly do that. To send out schedules and contracts and whatnot. So that's something that we can add in as just part of the public communication.
Pretty easy for me to say.
Councillor Gibson's right though, that because this is across Ontario, like anything else, there'll be some hurdles to get past initially, and then a year or two from now it'll just be
old hat.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go with baby steps and put out their cigarette before they go to the field instead of having it in their mouth. Just on a positive, it could be that because it's getting more and more difficult to smoke, that people will not start smoking again. Maybe some people will refrain from smoking or quit. So, and the cost too. So maybe with the two of them now, it'll make it more difficult and smoking become less of a concern.
Yeah, we're gearing up for summer sports and a lot of baseball rentals, and we'll just keep an eye on it, and we can certainly report back to track when we meet again in September with how it's going. So.
What is the role of public health? They refer you to call public health, but are they going to come out and talk to these people or tell them how bad it is for them? That'd be interesting to see. How bad it is for them to be smoking, never mind marijuana.
I can talk to that a bit, I guess, because I'm chair of public health, but and that's the point. And I think Judy made the point. This isn't just us alone. We're going to be continuing. Public health has some education that they've been putting out. They've got the new signs with the vaping. Remember, this isn't any different than our smoking bylaw, but now we just added vaping and cannabis to it. So we've had this out there, and we've had the same enforcement since we did it. And I remember going back, and I think, Ron, you brought it up a few years back, when we tried to do something locally ourselves, and we put like some temporary signs that had no bylaw to them. And then the Ontario government realized that it can't be a local issue. But then they came out and they said, that's fine. But they didn't give us a army of people at public health. They give us one inspector. Unfortunately, that's why I'm saying if they can come out and they can talk, But at the end of the day, they got all of Wellington, and I don't think they work a lot on weekends, which is mostly when we have our problems, probably. Now, one thing we didn't talk about is the fact when we have our dances and other things, which when you add alcohol to something, it usually causes a little less people understanding what's going on. And they might be a little more brazen and bolden. So at the end of the day, we have a security people that they can be the ones that go out and mention it to them. So I know Prac has talked about that. So it won't be just always our people. If you have security hired, they can go out and say there's no smoking in this area. Now they're not going to again go in and have a battle physically with anybody, but they also have a pretty good call to the police at that point in time. So that's where, in a lot of those cases, I think that we're hoping that our security, and we have the same security firm, so they know all our events, so they know where we stand on this issue, and if they have to deal with it, they'll deal with it, and then we'll get some back. But I think the fact that we should probably make sure if we start getting incidents, we find out. But you're right. I mean, there's going to be people that will do
same
it.
as the smoking. They've
Yep.
ignored the smoking signs, so they're not going to. And my concern is exposing children. The whole purpose of this legislation was to protect our youth
Yep.
from exposure to
Gene,
marijuana.
unfortunately, it's great to make a law, but it's hard to enforce it sometimes when it's not really, if they haven't got.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we're ready for a recommendation, and the recommendation would be that council receives the March 27th, 2019 report from the Recreation Services Manager entitled Smoke-Free Ontario Act Policy, and that council approves the revised Recreation Policy 5.2 Smoke-Free Ontario Act as attached. Now we got Councillor Gunson and Deputy Mayor.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Good. I'll turn it over to Judy.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Call on Roads and Drainage Manager Mike McIsaac to talk about putting up some stop signs.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
This report's just requesting the reinstatement of a temporary all-way stop at the intersection of Highway 9 and County Road 2/Mill Street and Park Street in Clifford there for the duration of the Highway 9 construction season this year. Timeline, they did say they will want to start middle of April here, so we'll see if that happens or not. But, we want to have the ability to have a controlled intersection with all directions for the construction season.
Certainly make it a lot safer.
Yeah.
Any questions? Mayor Bridge.
Just to add on there, I don't see anything here about the speed limit in Drew.
No,
Or do we have to bring anything to that, or how are you getting along with that?
I don't believe we need anything involved with that. It's through the county.
And the county has said, yeah. So just keep an eye on that. So what, as everybody remembers, we're going to try to make that a 60 going at Drew where the corner is.
Yeah.
And we'll put one of our electronic signs up coming from Clifford too.
Okay, so the recommendation is that council receives the Roads and Drainage Manager's report March 15th, 2019, and considers the proposed bylaw installing a temporary all-way stop at the Elora Street, Mill Street East, Park Street West intersection in Clifford as required for the duration of the Highway 9 construction project during open session. Mover and a seconder? Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Gunson. Good thing it's not going to be a long meeting. All in favor? Thank you. That
You know what
passes.
I have to go through now.
First and second.
I'll just turn this over now to Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. We have 3 items on the Treasury this week. The first one has to do with the adoption of the budget for 2019. And so I'll ask our treasurer to get started along with Chris. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chair Turton. So we're proceeding along the road to adopting the budget, and we've had our 2 public meetings, one for the operating, one for the capital. Again, as I think we've noted, there's been a lot of uncertainty this year. Some of the uncertainty is cleared as of now. We know our OMPF grant, and as we say, it's only down $26,000 this time. We're still concerned about future years. So we've been able to cover that through bringing some money in reserves. We have our both conservation authority levies nailed down, and a couple of other things that were up in the air. So basically, we're going to where we discussed before as far as the overall tax levy. I guess the interesting part is in the capital budget, which 100% we will be reopening later this year. So we were not successful in our Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund application for the Minto Normandy Town Line, and not only that, the program has disappeared, so we will not be reapplying there. But we do have a new federal provincial grant program. Again, to the mayor's efforts at FCM, and that the municipal share is 17%. And there's various guidelines. It's a lot more restrictive than some of the others. So basically, it's roads and bridges, not water, wastewater, and stormwater. And the deadline for an application on that is middle of May, and we'll be bringing probably at the next council meeting some projects for you to consider, give staff direction, and we'll work on that application too. So, and we still have our $520 tax afforded amount. So anyway, I think what's good, we've had a couple of very active years. We've stepped back a little, but we're still getting a lot of things done. And our public comments have been relatively limited, but on the whole positive. And
Questions? Councillor Dirksen?
Just had a question about the one-time payment to rural municipalities to be used to review operations and create efficiencies.
yes,
What kind of dollars are we talking about, and are there a lot of limitations on that?
there's not a lot of limitations. It's 591,200. Basically, that is not in this budget. We received it on Friday. It actually came in, and we have parked it. So again, Chris has been working with some of the other CEOs on some joint initiatives, and basically it's to improve the way things are done. There's a real emphasis on shared agreements, shared property, things like that. So there's no detailed report back on it. It did mention there's capital investment, but reading between the lines, if you read the whole letter, I don't think it's designed just to go towards one project and we're done, because we got a couple of dozen of them. We could
So make it
spend it.
last.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There's no great rush to do it anyway, so we're going to take our time
Yeah.
and bring forward the council something. So for purposes of this budget, it's found money. It's not there.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Gord. Mayor Bridge?
Just on that, and I was able to have a conversation with the head of AMO the other day. I was at a joint meeting, and that's the executive director.
Mhm.
And one of the things about this, although there's no strings attached, they're getting a feel from the government that really they want to see success stories. They want to see things that you're doing from a streamlining or whatever, how you're going to work together and come up with IT stuff or whatever that will make your job better and your operations better. So I think what Gord's saying, Councillor Dirksen, we want to make sure that we kind of tasked to go out with the department heads to go out and sort of look in your departments and figure out, is there anything there that we haven't been able to do in the past because we didn't have the money to do it, but it would have been nice to do because we could save money down the road, but we're all limited. And I think that's what the government was getting at when they said, if for small municipalities, it's hard for you to spend that maybe $70,000 on an IT thing that might help you down the road, but you're going to do that or fix a pothole or do whatever. So I think that that's what they're gearing this money for. So I think we want to make sure that I'm not saying I don't want to take a whole bunch of time. I'd like to have some quick wins. Maybe we can get out there this year and say, here's a couple of things we can do that we can see that will give us some breaks, but the staff will be coming back to us with some of those ideas and we can have that discussion. So I'm excited about it, but I don't think you'll see this every year.
Other questions? Councillor McKenzie, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair Dave. Okay, so the capital end of it, Gord, if there's projects because of financing that we can't do, we've already set our budget with that amount in there where there'll be amendments to reduce the taxation.
Yeah, probably won't reduce the taxation because we're going to establish that today with the overall pass the tax rate, hopefully in May. But in the capital budget, I have a $1 million unidentified project with our share at 167. That might be a $500,000 project. It might be a $2 million project. That's the kind of thing that we'll bring forward. The timelines on that project, if it's due in mid-May, they say they'll make the decisions in the fall. So, and I think the deadline for spending is like 2026. Like, it is really stretched out. I would not want to wait that long, but it's unlikely that there's going to be a lot of dollars spent on that project. Again, it's competitive. If we don't get through, we don't do it. And in our budget that we're looking at today, it's just coming out of reserve, so it wouldn't have any. One uncertainty that did come through, again, on Friday was a very busy day. We had our public meeting for the flood mitigation strategies, and we applied under the National Disaster Mitigation Program to take those dozen options and narrow them down, flesh out the costing and that too. We did receive approval for that, so we have $130,000 grant money, $130,000 for us for the $260,000 project. So that's one of those, if we were sitting here a week ago, it would have been in and then out if it didn't go, but it's gone, so we're going to proceed with that. But that's basically the only one. It's the federal provincial. It's out there. We're not sure exactly what we're going to do or if we will receive support, but everything else is pretty much covered, and as it stands now, that's our biggest project.
We're not canceling any. There won't be any cap. That money's going to be used that we've drafted for the taxes.
Yeah, and that particular one has no current tax allocations.
Okay. And I have another one on operating, and I'm not pointing fingers, and I might be outdated asking this, but we always pass budgets. I haven't been here for 12 years without doing 12 months. Looking at the operating, we've only had 9 months. Is that common?
Yeah. Well, what we've done, remember in the old days when I was on the audit side and that, what we would do is we would have the financial statements all first. We pass the budget in May or June. The disadvantage, it slows things down. The advantage is you have a really good idea. So what we've done, for about the last 10 years or so, basically the operating fund, it becomes a zero. We just flow it between what we call a tax stabilization reserve, and that's the only practical way. We just make our previous year come to zero. And as you know, water and sewer get that way we cover anything reserve transfers.
Missing 3 months are just estimated.
Well, we know what they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't see them when we set the budget, and that's the way it is today. Is that it?
Pretty much. Just the way the deadlines go, because probably our financial statements will be June, July.
You finished?
I'm finished. Thank
you.
And just to clarify a little bit there, Mark, too, and it was always when I first started too, but the board does a pretty good job, and we actually are doing it even better. I mean, when Mary Lou was finance, to try to get the bills in as quick as we can to get that year-end number, and so we have a pretty good guesstimation that we're not. It's all. I know where your concern is. Are you going to be in a deficit or a surplus at the end of the 12 months? Because how do you set your budget on operating if you don't know where that is? And you've been pretty good at nailing that over the years. But again, we really any big bills we kind of estimate them before the end of the year, so we know that it may not be there yet. It hasn't been off the books yet, but we know it's coming and we know approximately what it is. So we don't go in totally blind in it. And it's been a pretty good. But if you didn't do that, we wouldn't get this. I wanted the budget when I first came in. I remember, I think I told you, I said it would be nice to have it like in December, January. And you told me I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Individuals in that too.
I'm a mayor, but I don't have that kind of authority. But you were really guessing at that point.
Yeah.
And, but we've really got it down pretty good.
Yeah, this year it wasn't so much on the expenditure side; it was on the revenue side. So again, I can't wait forever either. So I had a lot of grants that we had applied for. under review, and it might be that. So I set everything up as receivables. I still have two that are out there that I don't have confirmation, but they're relatively small. Thankfully, our big one, which was our Clifford Connecting Link, came through last week. And that one, we probably would have had gone negative, but it came through as we expected. Yeah, we try and kind of serve two masters here. We'd like to hurry it up for budget purposes, but we'd like to get it.
So it was a big week, pretty active money coming in. So
Very
that
active.
big check then that we got on Friday, do we have to have the approval of the government before we go spend 50 or 60 or 300? We just spend it as we see fit.
Like I talked to our Ministry of Municipal Affairs rep and said basically there's no report back. But again, as we all agree, you have to read that letter. I think we have to handle it responsibly.
Mm-hmm. I think they expect that. Councillor Elliott?
The concern I have, there's obviously things that we need to do that are necessary. So we're not gonna have enough money to be able to do all the necessary things. Correct. Are we gonna be able to do temporary fixes on a road, for example, or be able to make it safe? Or
I think we have enough in there. I know I talk to Mike pretty much every day, and there is maintenance. Is it enough? It's never enough, and again, that's a balance. And even I know Norm would say, well, when it gets to roads, spend a dime today or $1 in 5 years. But we'd like to have a lot more dimes to spend, but prioritize and that's the same for the water and the waste.
I think as long as it's safe and passable, I think that's what we've got to make sure we have enough money to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you want to have enough, like if there's a water pump goes in a main well, you got to fix it.
Or a compressor in a rink.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, a lot of those things are must-dos. Health and safety is paramount. So any other questions? So the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto accepts the Treasurer's report dated March 27th, 2019 and considers the passage of the related budget bylaw in regular session. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Councillor Elliott, all in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Second item then is the approval of accounts.
So being this
Treasurer Duff, please just go ahead.
Sure, this is our first quarter, so we have to pay the first quarter county and school board levies and 2.1 million. So again, the money comes in, and it's ironic. Lori was showing me the big receivable came in, and later the same day that went out. Didn't even stay overnight, so that was crazy. And all of our software are described that we do our meetings on. That was $11,000, and our citywide software that we do our capital assets for almost the same amount. That was in too. We paid half of the Saugeen Valley levy of $20,000. Of our firefighters volunteer insurance for just over 13, and marking to our CEO here that amount really hasn't changed much. So that's good. Still we're in winter bills here, so another $30,000 of salt and sand. One and, small one, but seniors bus trip, 1,500. So anyway, lots of interesting things. Yes, it all comes back.
So are we finished purchasing salt and sand?
But we probably don't have our last bill.
Who knows?
Questions for our treasurer? Hearing none, then the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated March 27th regarding approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for February, March 2019. Councillor Dirksen, Councillor Gunson, all in favor of that? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Third and final one has to do with the development charges background study. I think your name's on that one as well.
That's right.
Treasurer Duff.
Writing reports. Yeah, it was. March is a busy time anyway. So anyway, I know we've highlighted a few months ago that our development charges bylaw expires in just under a year, March 2nd of 2020. And this is the time, again, there's so much been going on in the town of Minto the last few years that I think even if it wasn't up for renewal, it's a good idea to have a look. And this tells you what are our needs to finance growth going forward. And we have to follow the very strict rules of the Development Charges Act. The firm Watson and Associates, formerly C.N. Watson, we've used them probably since the inception of the town. They also do a lot of work for the county, and so we can share some of that work and work very well. So Andrew Grunda is the principal, and I've worked with him, I think, since I started here too. So it's good to have some continuity. I know there'll be some new people there too. So I was pleased that there's a detailed report and answer any questions, but the overall cost came in at $27,000, which was 6% over the last year. It takes quite a bit of staff time and public engagement, so this is a very comfortable timetable to get things underway. We'll have staff meetings, we'll meet with council, public, and basically get the data, the growth projection, work out a proposed schedule from there.
Questions? Exciting.
Yes.
So hearing no.
It can be.
It can be.
So the recommendation. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's report dated March 25th and accepts the March 11th, 2019 proposal to undertake a development charges background study and bylaw update. I know those dates aren't quite right, but that's kind of what we want to do today. So can I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Elliott, all in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. And I'll pass the chair back to our mayor. Just one thing. I wasn't at our last meeting, and I just wanted to offer my thanks to our treasurer and our staff for the work that you guys have done on our budget. It's as usual. It's very well put together, very understandable, and thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Mayor Turton, and other business is closed. Did you want to start?
Certainly. I just wanted to say I lost my brother last week, and 9 weeks ago he fell on his head on the ice in his driveway, and I really appreciate all the offers of condolences and the donation from the town to the Ontario Brain Injury Association. So thank you very much.
Sympathy with you. What else do we got? Mark.
I know this is a county road, but do we ever? Well, I know we do. You've probably been in touch on County Road 2. It's got 2 sunken holes there, and if you're going the right way, it'll throw you out of the seat. So maybe somebody could let them know. Maybe you've already done that.
Yeah, maybe you should get a mic there.
You're probably aware of that, but I just.
Yeah, the county's aware of that too. There's a soft spot. You're talking just before the subdivision.
Yeah, down the swamp there. It's a yearly thing, but it's getting this year's.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They're looking at different options there for repairs on that section. Yeah.
It's hard to do on a log road, but that's the way it is. Thank you. And my other, I have a comment to make. I went to a Clifford Downtown Revitalization Committee the other day, and I have to say this. I don't think our staff should have to take it. Didn't seem like, maybe not abuse, but it was a little much to sit there and take abuse on public works through that committee. There's a proper channel for those people to go through. Sit there and bash the town at that committee is not fair, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. If it does, I'll bring it up again, but I don't think staff should have to sit there and take it when it's not their responsibility.
And thanks you for bringing that up, Councilor McKenzie. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have a counselor at those meetings. And hopefully, I mean, we can help the staff in those situations, because we've all been there. Ron, I think you've been there. I've
Yes,
been
we
there.
have.
And if there's situations like the whole idea of it, and I believe I had a debriefing as well. Thanks for bringing it up in here. But um, the idea is for the positive things to happen. But we don't have a problem with citizens bringing up concerns. But again, they should be brought up properly and in a discreet manner. And in most cases, we already know that some of these things exist, and it's just a matter of doing that. So appreciate that, and it's unfortunate that comes up sometimes, and it usually takes one person to stir up things, and unfortunately everybody gets on the negative instead of the positive. And the whole idea of the downtown revitalization committees is look for positive things to do in the communities, and it's a good comment you make. And we've had to put out fires from time to time, but I still think they provide a service. It's just that we have to be careful that they don't become just a complaint oriented. And that, I agree with you on that. But feel free, if whoever's sitting on those committees, and protect the staff as best you possibly can.
It was
I've
getting
been there.
elevated, and we kind of let it level off, but it's not the place for it.
No, it isn't. And you know, with good reason, it can be something, and you can bring it up. But at the end of the day, it's not a public works meeting. It's an economic development thing.
No. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's good. Anything else? Look, Dave, Ron.
Yeah, I just thought of it after I said I didn't have anything. I just wanted to, our splash bash, I think we said in economic development was going to be June 15th. It was June 8th. So they did move it back.
The day everything else is going on?
The 15th, everything's going on too.
Oh.
Doesn't seem to matter in the town of Minto. We've got a lot of things.
June is crazy.
Yeah. And ours is in the morning, so it doesn't interfere a lot with. That's a freebie. Thanks to the mayor. He gives us some money to help cover their free hot dogs that we give away and such like. So again, we're looking forward to that. That's Lions Club put that on. And what was the other thing? I don't think we ever congratulated you for becoming vice chair of FCM.
Well, the Ontario Caucus?
Yeah, Ontario Caucus.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I was glad to hear that. It's to me, it's very, very important that people move along in those committees and represent our community, because it does bring a lot to our community. With people, it's kind of a hidden thing. People don't realize that we get to know our mayor, get to know the town of Minto, and the more we're involved in that kind of thing, I believe when our name comes forward, oh yeah, we know the town of Minto, and they do good things. So kudos to you.
And then it's good to at the FCM level, and we're going to have I've got time, so I'm going to not bore you, but I'll hopefully give you a little update on FCM, because we have time till our 5 o'clock meeting. So I'm going to do a little slideshow.
I didn't need that to happen.
I know. Thanks for bringing that up. But it's important that we have the rural voice at FCM, and we do across Canada. And Ontario, it's a little tougher because of just the makeup of the group, and there's only 3 of us that really in the rural. Out of the 16 members of the Ontario Caucus, mostly big city people. Like everybody with a million population over get an automatic seat. They don't have to be elected. And so there's 6 of those, and then you've got London's and other bigger places that have more people can come to those meetings to get elected, and so it's an honor to be able to be there and help out and the county gives me the ability to do that by paying for the expenses, because FCM have paid the expenses to go there. Now maybe I can get you. We're going to do the declaration, but maybe Ron, just give us a little update on this next item. Be a donor, and it was sort of you brought this to us, and maybe from the Lions Club. Can you give us a little background, and then we'll get into it? And I'm excited about it. Next item.
Last Lions Club meeting was last Tuesday. We had Jane Blears came, and she's with the Amarath Lions Club, and she's also part of the District A9 Lions Club, which is our area in this. And she brought forth about donating being a donator of your organs to help save somebody's life. It was quite a moving piece that she brought forward, how this one lady that talked to it about her father was saved by being able to get a heart. And one of the most difficult times for anyone is when somebody's passed in your family. The least thing in your mind is, yes, we would like to donate that person's organs. And if it's not on, it's supposed to be, there's a thing they can put on the health card to say that you're an automatic donor. So for a doctor or a nurse to come out and have no information on that, they usually don't. And you'd be amazed at the people that have their life saved. They get a heart, they get liver, they get whatever they may need just from that donor. And she was also saying that age doesn't seem to matter. There's parts of a person that they've gotten from 90-year-olds that have helped people. So they have a program to bring forward, and part of it is the flag that we brought here, and these green ribbons that you wear for that. And they've asked that we do a decoration on behalf of them to bring forward. But it is quite moving. It's quite a good program. So maybe the mayor could read.
Yeah, and maybe so I'm kind of open up to the council. I was hoping we could do a proclamation. April is Be a Donor Month. Have your permission. Any questions or concerns, Judy?
I just so this aside, okay. I'm just wondering, do we have a policy on making proclamations?
I believe we do. Do we not? We've done a couple in the past, but
because I recall long time ago we said we're not doing proclamations.
Since we've been at this council?
No, I said a long time ago.
Okay. No, yeah, I'm just trying to remember I think off the top of my head, I thought we did a couple since we've been done some. But I can't tell you which ones they were now.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't getting into something
if we don't, we probably should have some kind of policy, but I guess,
I just wondered how we determine.
Well, I guess that's why I'm asking, and that's why I want.
And that's why I said this aside.
I would not automatically do this. I would hopefully, if there's any concerns, we could certainly have that discussion.
I don't have any concerns with this. I just don't want to set a precedent that we wish we hadn't set.
Hey, we can have staff look into it and see if there's some. There obviously people have them out there. We can maybe look at one and
I didn't know about this ahead, so that's why I'm bringing this
up.
No,
and unfortunately we didn't know this ahead. This came I think after your last meeting you had, Ron, you brought it to us.
Yeah, and I
wasn't in time to get it on the thing.
To my thinking, I don't know, precedent for what precedent. We can decide by motion here what we decide to make a declaration or whether we don't make a declaration. I think that
do it. I think we've had autism and different things.
I think we have. I can't remember off the top of my head which one, but I don't. You're right, probably right, Councillor Durst. I don't think there is a policy.
They've never run too many up over the years that it's not that we're going to get next week. We're going to lead on with a whole.
Should we have a vote on it before then? I think we should. So if somebody wants to move it,
yep, I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Ron,
for
this one. All in favor? And then we'll come back with maybe have a look at. That's probably a good idea. Yeah, we could get into a bit of a problem. You never know. We might be. Although I think this council always has the right to turn anything down, even if we have a policy.
Sure you do.
Fair enough. Like if something comes to us that we feel that doesn't really fit our mandate. So now I'll read the proclamation. April 2019 be a donor month. I, George Bridge, do hereby proclaim April 2019 is Be a Donor Month in the town of Minto, whereas Be a Donor Month that supports organ and tissue donor registration, and whereas over 1,500 people in Ontario are waiting lists, and every 3 days someone in Ontario dies waiting for a life-saving organ transplant, and whereas research shows the majority of Ontarians support organ and tissue donation, yet just 32% of the eligible Ontarians have registered their consent to donate, and whereas families almost always consent to donate organs and tissues when there is evidence of a registered donation decision by loved ones. But in the absence of a registered donation decision, families consent only half of the time. And whereas everyone is a potential organ and tissue donor, regardless of age, one donor can save up to 8 lives through organ donations and may enhance up to 75 other lives through tissue donations. Now, therefore, I encourage all citizens to learn more about the organ and tissue donation and transplantation and consider pledging their support to Be a Donor Month by registering their consent to organ and tissue donations at beadonor.ca.
Just to add to that, our Lions Club in Palmerston for years and years and years, way back when Dr. Vanner first, Dr. Vanner started a program where you harvest the eyes of people at the hospital, and they asked for that. And many, many times over the year, we Lions Club deliver these eyes to Guelph, who deliver them to Toronto, and those eyes are put. It's quite a good feeling to know that the next day somebody wakes up and can see after they get those eyes. So it's a good feeling.
Well, and I think if I remember correctly, Palmerston Hospital, like they topped the, I don't know how to say it.
Yes, we are.
For the rural hospitals, for the size of our hospital, the numbers were phenomenal.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, we already voted all in favor, right? So that has been done. So maybe if we can get a group picture out by the, you want to do that or that, just because we want to publicize this, that we're supporting this. Everybody want to come back out. I think we can get around the flag.
Which side are we putting the pins on?
I had the right side. I don't know if that's the wrong side. Is there a side? I don't know. Like,
Does it matter what side?
I don't think.
Well, we're all over the place. Put it on your forehead.
First.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that.
with that. Okay, let's.
If they wanted it on one side or the other, they should have put it on the card, and they didn't.
Annalena, can you get a picture? All right.
It could be worse. It could be worse. David, over the last 2 weeks, I have had quite a bit to drink. Where is she?
What you're making us do?
That thing's hard to pick up, isn't it?
They're little, yeah, they're puny little things.
None of them.
They should go sideways.
It's not.
So you know what happened?
That pin doesn't want to stay on there.
Really? What'd you take off with my little?
Well, just put it on.
Here, stick it in. You're the one, chick. Oh God, you got me.
We got a problem on that side. Coordination this side. Get it figured out.
Sideways. Yeah, everybody do it before. There we go.
We're looking this way.
Thank you. Right there.
What happened?
Did I get knocked off?
Yes.
Doesn't David chase everybody into donating?
I don't
At
know.
the license office?
I didn't have my
They're required to
paper.
ask you now. When you get your
Yeah,
license.
do you want to mention it or do you want me to mention? Yeah, I was going to mention this before we get into this. I had one other one before we get into the report from the FCM. I was really excited to be. I wasn't unfortunate at the last game because I was down in Toronto in a meeting, but I got play-by-play. But the Pee-wees won the All Ontario this year, and I just want to say for all the support that I saw people at the arena I've never seen in a long time. But I think in Palmerston, I don't know how many they had, probably 500 or so.
Huge.
It was a huge crowd, and they had the one that they had in Hairston. Both ones were like the whole place was full, and that's just a great community support for those kids. And man, they really played well the last game, and nice to see them get the whole thing. And just the fact that my one grandson's on the team, and Terry has a son, and there's a bunch of us that were out there in the cold arena. Al, I heard that many times.
Does the boy get his playing ability from his grandmother?
So she's it was baseball for sure. Hockey, I don't know. Hockey, he's got some hockey skills, yeah, for sure. But
skate.
he can skate. But anyways, it was great to see that, and it was great to see the community out there. And I have to say, Jeff, the two young guys from the 81s, I think the kids really enjoyed them being coaches, and they put their time and effort in, and that was nice to see. So yeah, it's great to see the arenas full, and that's a great bonus. And I believe they're going to be coming maybe in the future to here to get their award along with some other teams that have done really well. It's probably a day that I'm away, but we'll have to. So I'm putting my plug in now. But anyway, now the next thing if you would bear with me for about maybe 10 minutes, and we can talk a bit about this. Ron talked a bit about the FCM and what FCM is all about and what we've been trying to do. And and maybe because it was election year, obviously election year, but we really got some big wins for rural and municipalities in general in this last federal budget. And this is a message from our president. And there's a few things in here I just want to highlight. I'm not going to go through the whole report. I believe you sent it out to everybody.
Oh, yeah, I've just put it up here now. I will send it out.
This will be out to you because it's 18 pages, but it really gives you a good breakdown of all the stuff that was in the budget. And I think it's important you know this when people come to you about rural broadbanding and about other things, that you know where we stand on some of these bigger issues. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really. I don't. Can you send it to my my email? The Minto one, the town of Minto. Did I send it from my Wellington County one? Because I don't have that one on here. I can't read it from there. I don't know if you guys can't
What's
read
the
it
matter
either.
with you? Why not? Board of Directors of the Federation.
Can
you read that? Well, that far.
Yeah, let's see if I got it here. Don't think I do. Okay.
Even with the headline looks like.
Oh, hang on. No, I got it. No, is this the budget one? Rural.
So,
Maybe I don't. No, that's a different one.
can't read that fast. No.
I was just about the rural broadband. Can you send it to me? There's the key points. But I need to have you send it to me. Thanks. Sorry about that. I should have. One of the big ones I can talk a bit about was, as Gord pointed out in our budget, in 2018, we had an agreement signed by the previous provincial government, and unfortunately, with the change of government in Ontario, it took them a while to go through it, and the new government signed it, which is the 33%. And so they decided that they weren't going to do anything that we put in for 2018 for 2019. So we're unfortunately going to miss another construction season. One of the biggest concerns we had at FCM talking about that was this will be the second one we'd miss, because there was so a problem before. So the federal government has this money that they want to give to us for infrastructure. Because if you know, I preached long and hard about the fact that we're in a situation where we have 9% of the revenue and 60% of the infrastructure. So we need the other two levels of government to bring us money, because it's part of what they collect money to fix roads and bridges and all the other things that their citizens have. So it's always been difficult to get that flowing through. Here, I got it up now, I think. So anyways, on that first topic, that they were able to, we had sort of planned it one other time, that if we couldn't get the provincial governments to agree on the 33%, because again, you can't expect the municipalities to keep coming up at 25 and 30% every time, or 33%, because we don't have the tax base to borrow the money. So we got them to the 50 for the smaller, under 100,000, and the 33, which meant that Gord mentioned in his budget, 17% would be our share for these bigger projects. So that wasn't going to happen. So they decided that they would get the money to us this year by doubling all our federal gas tax. So we now have, as of June, as soon as the budget's passed, which they're still playing with right now, but they'll get it passed by June 1st. We'll have another $260,000. So it'll be double ours. And at the county level, it's another $2.7 million they're going to get. And the county, the advantage there is the county never gets any grant money for some reason from the province and the feds because maybe their financial situation or whatever. So for them, it's a big win because it's $5.4 million they will have now to do infrastructure, which is it's got to go to bridges and roads. That's where it has to go. And
Well,
and
the
the
federal
gas
tax
tax.
and also, well, county doesn't have it.
No.
Water.
There's water and sewer with it too.
There's
We
a
can
few
play with
others.
it a bit, but we tend to go with bridges and roads. But anyway, so that was a big win. So doubling of the gas tax was a big win for us, and that was one of the ones there. The next one up was the budget sets the stage, building lives and national parties. Okay, let me get the right one. So the next one is rural broadbanding, and we were trying to get with our federal budget, working with our with where they wanted to go with the next platform. We were trying to get them to go with $400 million for 10 years guaranteed, which is about $4 billion for rural broadbanding. And they've actually been able to come up with a lot more than that. They've actually come up with altogether with private funding, and that could be $5 or $6 billion. So again, they listened to us, they talked to us, they worked on those things. And then the other one that was really good is doubling down on the direct delivery to Canadians through the Green Municipal Fund. Now this is one that we may be able to use in the future with our Palmerston plant. Good example in the area here. We were over in Arthur just at the beginning of this year, and they were able to get some money from the federal government through the FCM's Green Fund for upgrading of their sewer and water in the sewer plant in Arthur. So that's a good one, and there's a lot of neat things in that one that we can look at as far as that goes. Yes, and the other one that Gord really likes is the asset management. Now, we've had some wins with asset management, and to do our asset management and do it on a basis that we can have the technology that we can keep it updated. There was a fund there for a few years that we got how much overall?
We never actually got that much. This is one.
Oh, the map one, yeah.
Yeah, and it just it was originally going to extend to 2020, and it was suddenly ended last September. Right. But I believe they're going to put in a similarly named program.
It's going to be another $60 million because it's one that's really been a big uptake on. I thought we did get something for asset management.
Well, there was
a different kind, a similar
program,
idea.
Yeah. So many programs.
So many programs. But anyway, so there's where we're at on some of just some updates on that. So when you get this report, it's coming to you at everybody's got it now? Well, good. If you have any questions on it, by all means, come back and talk to me about it. Like it goes into election readiness. It has some neat things on through the Green Municipal Fund, and they've some money there for climate change. So even though the Ontario government's kind of gone out of climate change, we got something in there for they're going to be going with some rebates for electrical cars and all these other things, and stations and all that stuff. So they're still putting money into climate change, and that money will probably be coming out of the new tax you've been paying at the pumps this lately. Everybody kind of noticed the price went up a little bit because we're the carbon thing. So that money is supposed to be all going back into the energy thing. So I wanted to just highlight because they had a few minutes to do it, but there's a whole bunch in there. If anybody has any questions, by all means, just give me a call on it. I'm just pleased that they really take a rural lens now. Oh, and on top of that, they've actually have a rural cabinet minister now for rural economic development, which we never had before. That's a brand new position, and she'll be driving the bus on the rural broadband and some of the things that we're going to be able to do out in the rural economic development. I'm really looking forward with the Western Ward's economic development strategy, Belinda, to get some of that workforce planning, attainable housing. Those are types of things that they're looking at from a rural lens, which we never used to have. It used to be from a big city lens. I think that's been a big win for us. So that's about it. Anything else? Yeah, we have recess. We have a recess now till 5.
One that I forgot to go to events to Clifford firefighters forgetting something.
Oh.
Friday night,
Yes.
the community center in Clifford.
All you can eat.
All you can eat, and money goes back into closed meeting and session.
Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, everybody take a break till 5.